Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ryan and Oaks Talk Sports. Usually Ryan, but as you know, Ryan Props never does his job. As always, though, the show is sponsored by Pickett Sports and Props.cash. Oaks, how are you?
Good, my man. How about you?
I just watched an hour and a half of that Suns game, and I'm not doing well. My mental well-being is teetering.
Yo,
Uh,
luckily for Christmas, I got you an hour and a half of your life back. So,
yeah, exactly. That was rough to watch. Yeah, Sam, I hear you. Aiton did check back in, but I saw the Suns miss five straight threes, so I'm not watching it. But my guess is that just jumping and trashing threes here. I don't understand putting your starters back in if you're just gonna chuck threes and not run your offense. Usually in a blowout, you put your starters back in to build off of it and you know actually get some well being out of it. But the Suns clearly don't care about their well being anymore, and they look like trash. So that's always fun. Oh, did we did we already lose Oaks?
no, I'm
Oh
here.
no, he's
I
good.
just don't have
Oh,
anything
but
to
I
say
was
about
like,
the Suns game. I wasn't watching. I had a busy afternoon. Tone was like, "Yo, you gonna send me any slips for the show?" And I'm like, I got this 5 minutes before the show started. My bad." So, yeah, I went home for Christmas and stuff, and I brought back like some good Chicago food. But it turns out you cannot just eat pizza and meatballs all the time or you'll die. So like I had to go get
yeah,
vegetables, milk, like all that shit, some water. I can't just keep drinking beer and brown liquor as my only liquids anymore. So yeah, I
that's
had
a
to.
sad real. That's a sad reality. It's a sad reality when you do it for like a holiday weekend, and then you think like, wow, how do people act like? Do people do this on like a regular basis? And I respect it. Like I respect the hustle. I respect
Yeah,
the hustle of living.
in my early 20s, I would say 60 to 70% of the beverages I consumed were all alcoholic. But yeah, I'm in my early to mid 30s now, and I can't down a bottle of Jack Daniels every day and not drink water and still function as an adult.
Yeah, no, that's fair because so my mom like that's partly why I have a hard cutoff today. It's my mom's birthday today, but she works for the state and she helps. She's a caretaker for my aunt, and whenever I see them, my aunt's the kind of person that she cracks a Coors Light open at like noon every day, and she's like,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
like I got nothing else going on," and I'm like, you know what? I respect the hustle. Like you have to be committed to that, man. That is something else. But
Shout
it's
out
can
Leg
I
in chat. First of all, fuck you. My pizza setups are fired. Don't call my fucking shit frozen ever again. And second of all, you can trust my picks if I'm not drinking, but don't trust Australian A leagues if I'm not drinking. You can
That's
only
fair.
understand Australian football if you're upside down drunk, because then you're looking at it the right side up.
Dude, Aussie rules football. That's the stuff there. I was that's one of those sports where it's even better when you're drinking because the rules make no sense at times.
Facts.
I played rugby for 8 years, and I tell people to this day I understand half the rules, and like, that's what I tell people. Like there's times where a call is made, and I'm like, whatever. Like I okay, whatever happens happens. Yeah. So yeah, Sam just said eight got pulled. Yeah, there's no way that was hitting Sam. They put him in for like a minute just to show face as if they were getting blown out. That's my favorite thing in NBA terms is when they put starters back in the fourth quarter, and as almost like to say, "Hey, we're not getting blown out that bad."
Yeah,
I'm like,
no, we didn't quit on this game at halftime when we were down 30.
you're down 28. Just accept it. I almost lose respect for you for trying to do that. But I do think there's a benefit to it because you can get, like they had a long break. They don't play again until Wednesday. I guess just make sure people get a little bit of a run in. But before we continue to the slate today, Sam, I don't have it in front of me. Did Julius Randle go over or under 30 and a half points? I took that live. So in the chat,
I
if you
don't
could
know.
just
He
let me
had
know.
12 boards though.
No, but I know Sam's listening, so just let me know what he ended with because I took that live because as soon as the
I
Suns were
got
up.
you.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just usually don't have my phone up like on me here.
28 points, 15 boards, 6 assists.
Wow, that's crazy. So he went under his original 28 and a half too. That's nice. That's good because I think I saw some smart people on under 20 and a half, and if they lost in a blowout, there's nothing worse than losing an under in a blowout
Yeah.
because the same guy you bet an under on is like out there playing 40 minutes in the fourth quarter of 40. But if you took us
Oh,
over, they'd
dude,
be
you
like, "Yo,
can't bet under on starters for Thibodeau. Like if he's a Thibodeau starter, it doesn't matter how bad they're getting blown out. Like Thibodeau's playing his starters 40 minutes.
and then they wonder why they come out flat come like the playoff push. And it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe because they play 80 minutes. Someone asked about Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is probable, but if you know anything about the Heat, their injury reports are a sham, and you don't know anything until it matters. So I would wait to double check on that. But Lowry's supposed to play. Bam is supposed to play. Duncan Robinson's sitting, but I don't think he's relevant anymore, so it doesn't really matter. But the Heat injury, I almost banned the Heat as a I don't ban people, but I ban the idea of the Heat, and I don't recognize them as a team because they always have 16 people in the injury report. And if you're trying to bet props in the NBA and you don't know what the hell is going on, the Miami Heat are the worst team to try to figure out. So I like his RA today if Jimmy does play. Actually, that's one of the notes I had. So we'll kick off the NBA slate here. There's actually 10 more games. Hopefully they're a little bit better than the first one we had here.
I
But
love the Bulls tonight.
yeah, well, it's hard. I you should know what Ryan does. Ryan usually comes on with like a Phillies hat in the MLB season, or like a Sixers hat or Eagles hat,
Oh yeah.
and then he
Or
and
like
then he
you
get
who is all Phillied out all the time.
yeah. But like, here's my thing. I will be biased. Ryan comes on here and he would be wearing an Eagles shirt and an Eagles hat, and he'd be like, you know what? I like us this week. I think we're gonna do well, and like he'd give a prop out, and I'm like, dude, if you're giving out props, you gotta say Philly. You can't say we. You can't. You gotta separate it a little bit. But yeah, there is a. I do like the Bulls. The Cavs are a tough team at home, though. That's
Yeah, and the Bulls do struggle with the Cavs. I know you're an unders guy. They lock up DeRozan. Always has a really difficult night against the
yeah.
Cavs. That's a good
I like
look for
Levine
under.
tonight. Levine's a good
Yeah,
opt
Zach's
out
always
if you.
yeah, Zach can pop off against the Cavs. But I think the Cavs do a good job. You identify our best player and try and take away his game. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, DeRozan's getting. I would maybe look at his assists because that tends to be what he does when he starts getting locked up like that with the Cavs as he starts trying to dime some off.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that the Cavs are good at keying into your best player and limiting them. So I'm actually going to use that to spring load into the only bet I actually have in, which is Tyrese Halliburton. I took his under 19 and a half points. It's
Nice.
actually minus 115 on MGM. If you know anything about the Raptors in this league, I don't know what it is, but Nick Nurse has sold his soul to the devil in order to stop every single star player that he plays. For some reason, the Raptors, they're the only true positionless team in the game where everyone says like positionless basketball. But the Toronto Raptors are the only team that really do that well. And they don't have super great size, but they play good defensive basketball and they really rotate well. So last
Yeah.
time that the Raptors played the Pacers did win, but Halliburton was held to 8 points. Not saying that's the only reason I'm doing it. He had 15 assists that game.
Yeah.
And I play that same angle. I'm actually looking at a way to play a unit on this under. So I played this for one unit, and I might put a half unit on his over 9.5 assists
I like
because
that.
it does correlate well. And I also think there's an avenue where they can split. Even if he scores 20 points, I think 10 assists is a good number for him, especially for the Raptors, who allow 26 and a half assists a game. But if you watch the Raptors, it's almost beautiful to watch. They're so good at that early double at the top of the key. They
Yo,
force the ball out of those top players. Uh, so if you count DeAndre Ayton currently as a top scorer for the Suns, which without Devin Booker, I do consider that like he's the go-to option. The last six players they faced, Ayton had 4, John Morant had 19, Kawhi Leonard had 15, Donovan Mitchell was held to 12, Jalen Brunson as a point guard was held to 7, and Joel Embiid in overtime was held to 28. So they're one of those teams where even if they lose a game, the Raptors are totally okay selling out their soul. Like I said, to make sure it's the next man to beat you.
yeah.
It's almost like if you play the Cavs and Donovan Mitchell drops 12, but in this alternate reality, if you lose because I guess Garland drops 40 like he did against the Nets or something like that,
Yeah,
you
or
always live
Jared
with it.
Allen has a
Yeah,
25 and 12 game.
yeah. Like it's almost like you live with it if you are the the Raptors, or as long as it's not your Ryan Props in this chat. God damn, that guy sucks. He always does this. This is like the third time he can't come to do the stream, and then he comments in the stream, and I just, what are you doing, man? But yeah, thanks for showing up to work today, Brian. Yeah, so I do think there's a way where I'm going to take Hallie under 19.5 points and over 9.5 assists. I'm actually waiting until closer to the game because the juice is not favorable. It's about like minus 120 on MGM last I checked. And sometimes you can get better juice on a line like that. Or if it goes further the other way, I'm okay just passing on it and taking this under. And then I think Oaks is on my side here in terms of sometimes you see a line that doesn't make super sense and it almost makes you like it better, because I like this line a lot better at 20.5 because he scored 23 or more in the last 3 games. But sometimes you see it at 19.5, which is like that key number, because almost I think the public can say, oh, what's 20 points for Tyrese Halliburton? Like, it's one of those things where I like it better at 20.5.
10 baskets. You're telling me this professional athlete can't get 10 baskets?
Yeah, like that's really what it comes down to. Is
especially, dude, like he's very good at the free throw line. Very good.
Yeah, and I think the Raptors are overall they're decent at limiting that. And I mean they don't allow many points. Their field goal percentage allowed is not too bad, but they play like, so there's teams like so a little like inside for me when I look at the NBA, the Raptors and the Cavs are 2 teams I like to focus unders on. Not just because I like how they play defense, but their pace is slowed down so much that sometimes these teams that like run fast as hell just like don't get the same opportunities, because the Cavs are, I mean, if the shot clock's over 10 seconds, I'm surprised if they ever shoot it. Like they're like the kings of just slowing down that pace.
Yeah, making sure that it's Big Ten basketball, baby. The Midwest loves defense. If you put a hustle defense out there, that team can be dog shit, and the Midwestern people will line the fuck up to buy tickets. Like, I don't know what it is about Midwestern folk and defense, but they love that
shit. they like to be boring, man. My sister-in-law's from Chicago, so I get the whole family. You know, they kind of lull you to sleep. That's what they do. They like defense, like hard-nosed football.
Yo, did you see that fucking comeback by the Bulls against the Bucks the other day, though? I was so fucking jacked up on that, dude.
Yeah, I was
probably pissing my neighbors off. I was flying up on the couch. I was hollering at the ref. I had a great time watching that game. That was a good one.
Yeah, no, I do say that was a good game. There's funny because that happens a lot now in the NBA right now. I'm not one of those people that ever make excuses. I don't do that. It's been a little bit up and down in the NBA recently, but the NBA right now makes for great games to watch. But sometimes if you're betting on the league, it can piss you up beyond belief. If you had the Bucks -3 in that game, you're probably punching the air and like throwing a chair at the window. If you're just watching as a fan, that was such a good game to watch. That was a great game to watch. And in overtime, Giannis shot 1 for 8. So that was interesting because they had no other options. So sometimes
I couldn't believe he didn't get a 6th foul. Like he fouled DeRozan on that fucking flush away, or he fouled Io on that dunk to put him into overtime. Like, don't get me wrong, like I know Giannis is fun to watch, and he's a guy that people love betting on. That man is fucking ruining basketball. He palms every fucking possession he has. 9 steps is a gather for him. Like, dude gets the ball at fucking half court line, takes 3 steps, and he's dunking at the paint, and maybe dribbles twice. Like, I know he's big, and I know he's got a longer dribble, but like, yo, if you see that guy on Twitter or like IG who's like, I'm the #1 NBA snitch ref, boom, palm, traveled, ooh, 2 steps there. Like, that's what I felt like watching Giannis. I couldn't believe they called the travel on him when he had his back in the post and tried to go up there. So yeah, I mean,
I am so sorry for anyone in here that has to listen to this Oaks Bulls rant. I did not plan that into the show, but I did put it in the chat. But anything you guys have for tonight in terms of props, angles, anything that NBA, while we're covering the slate a little bit, just let them know, because I don't have much volume, only because I actually have a lot of spots I like. But after watching that Suns game, I might ease into the slate today only because I don't want to have hungover people be a part of a cap because I mean it sounds like a joke, but there is a legit concern sometimes, I think, when you're trying to attack the board after a major holiday because I mean they're humans too. Like it's not like a bad
Oh
thing,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean they
Right before
obviously
Christmas, I went 2 for 10 on CBB picks. Like I just wasn't seeing the board great. It happens. And then like I had somebody ask me a legitimately good question on Pickett because like I threw up that I was taking Bonnie's at home versus Florida Gulf Coast. And I'm like, yo, they should have a pretty nice home court advantage here. And like the
yeah.
guy wasn't trying to be a dick at all. He goes, well, what do you mean home court advantage? Like everyone's done with finals. It's the holiday. Like not a lot of students. I'm like, yo, I totally get that. But like, it's different for a New York team. Like it's
No,
different for a
yeah.
Chicago team. It's different for a Philly team. Like a lot of those guys that go there
They get
are
up.
locals and stay in the city and
Yeah.
will come back to your games over holidays.
No, this is a PSA to gambling Twitter, gambling whatever, everyone out there. It's okay to not be a dick. I can't tell you how many times I've posted something on Twitter and someone says like something negative or like something like against the play I have, and I respond in like a actual dignified way, and they respond with, "Hey, I like the angle." Actually, like, and then like if they take the other side, it's a handshake emoji. We move on. You don't
Yeah.
have to just you. It's very easy to be a decent person in this world. I that's my biggest thing. So that's a PSA for everybody that if you just be a decent person and you just use your logic and you use your social skills you learned in school, you can actually have success in this world. It's crazy.
But I thought that was a good question because, like, I totally get it, dude. College, bunch of guys home for, winter break, this, that, and the other. It's just, it gets different when you have teams that are from a major city like that. Like,
Yeah.
New York guys, like, chances are most people that go to that school are going to be New York local. Like yesterday, I was trying to get a little too into a narrative on Hopkins, who plays for Providence. He's from Oak Park River Forest, and it's a 15-minute blue line ride away from his house to the UIC pavilion. So I was like, yo, Providence up 20, like force feed my man. He's got his people here. Like he's only got 11 points and 9 boards. Get him over this 15 and a half.
Yeah. So I will say this, like looking at some of the chat and this and that, I'm gonna start covering, and me and Oaks are gonna knock out the big pillars of what I have on the slate in terms of what I identified. If you buy into the injury reports, Joel Embiid was randomly added as a questionable mark. Not saying he doesn't play, but this is a good spot for James Harden if you buy into that. His points assist line is 30.5. And if Embiid is ruled out, that's a spot that I definitely identify as a play spot. And even if he's not, Harden is one of those guys where I'm not even a big James Harden fan. Even as a Sixers guy, I was kind of hesitant on that trade. But if you watch him play, he's very good at passing when he needs to pass. But if he needs a score or the team needs a boost, if you watch the Christmas Day game against the Knicks, he dropped like I think 12 points in a matter of 3 or 4 minutes to close out one of the quarters. So if he needs to step up and be that scorer he used to be, he's good at that. So I like the combo line there. And like I said, if Embiid's ruled out, because you never know in the NBA injury report what anything means. So if Embiid does ruled out, I do have my projections I'm going to put out into the Discord later. But Tyrese Maxey is playing off the bench, which gives Harden a lot of chances to still have that usage without Maxey in there. So if you can find a line at 30.5 or 31.5, that's a spot that I identified. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts. I like to identify as a Sixers guy, but that's one of those spots where I think there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, I mean the Sixers are just they're frustrating. I'm not a Sixers fan. Um, when I bet the Sixers, I try and find Tobias Harris games. Like that's
Yep.
where I find that I have the most
And he's
success.
tough. He's
Yeah,
tough.
he is tough, but like I don't know. That's the guy I try and get the read on because like Embiid's gonna eat and like, but like his lines are always so high. Harden, like you don't always know if it's gonna be a rebound day for him or an assist day. He can go cold from behind the arc. He can go cold from everywhere on the floor. Maxey is either going to completely obliterate his lines or not come close to them. So yeah, I mean the Sixers are just they're a tough team to figure out all the time. The NBA is it's a grind. It's a very long season, so it's tough day in and day out. But I think that like I don't know. NBA always feels softer to me. Same with college basketball and like other sports, like when you have a loaded NFL game, because all eyes are on that. And I feel like that
Yeah.
sucks up a lot of the handle. So you get softer markets in other
Yep.
areas, which I'm a big fan of. I try and move away from what the public's doing and focus on stuff that I think I have an advantage on.
Yeah, I agree. Also, Tone said, did someone just gift us subscribers? I missed that on our feed. It looked like it blinked. But I couldn't tell. Because if so, whoever that was is amazing. But
Not
yeah,
that I
it's
see.
Tobias Harris. One of the what was that, Tone Sam?
Oh, I said not that I see.
Okay, never mind. So everyone go. Oh no, okay. But yeah, no. Tobias Harris is one of those guys. It's funny because I try not to look at my phone when I'm doing this, but sometimes it just like flashes and I can't tell.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat did ask about Nurkic over 7.5, a bio over 20.5, a bio over 9.5 rebounds. So I'm guessing is Nurkic 7.5? Is that his rebound? There's his rebound line can't be at that. What's
That seems like a teased a little bit lower. I like that against the Pistons, who aren't very good in the
yeah?
paint.
If
Pistons aren't
that's like a
very good
parlay thing,
anywhere.
yeah. Actually, yeah. Is Nurkic on the? I think he's on the injury report because he's not listed at some books. But if Nurkic does
Um,
play, he can go off against
yeah, I
the
have him
Pistons.
questionable with a calf injury.
Yeah, he's been up and down. So I will say part of the reason that sucks with the NBA right now is the injury reports to figure out. Yeah, someone said Harden is safer on PA versus points. It's true because he's. I mean, you saw it the other day, last week. Harden had 21 assists. That's why I lean PA with him to go back with
and
that.
when
But
he's cold from the floor, he finds the hot shooter. Like
yeah,
that's the thing is like
yeah.
even if he's cold from the floor, like they still have to suck up and respect Harden's ability to just get hot and drop 5 threes.
Someone asked, okay, so yeah, I agree with that, but some of the chat. So this is more of a chat talk, which I like. But we're gonna get to the NFL game soon, which is actually the
Nurkic
best
points
game.
7.5. Yeah, I love that. That's fucking
Yeah, if
four.
you can
That's
get,
four
if you're
putbacks.
teasing it, if you're teasing it down slash if your book is giving it 7.5, as long as you think he's healthy enough. I mean, Beef Stew is a good inside present, but like I think Beef Stew, I think Isaiah Stewart is fake hard. Like I think he has that whole
Yeah, I don't think
like
Nurkic is super tough either, but he gets
no.
offensive boards and putbacks. Like that's
Yeah.
four putbacks for Nurkic.
Yeah, or the PNR there for Dame and him is really nice as well. Bam Adebayo is one of those guys I looked into because on paper he has a great matchup because I couldn't decide between Bam or Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler's RA is 11.5. And against the Clippers, I think he can have a lot of good
He could
RA
have a field
opportunities.
day over there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always tough because whenever Kyle Lowry plays, I just never know the usage of some of those guys. But the Clippers, like as good as they are, Kawhi's questionable, whatever. But I mean, Vaka Zubac, he's like Zubac is their rim
I don't
protector,
I
and I
don't respect him and I won't bet him.
yeah, I just feel like he is
If
not the
he
best rim protector, and so I think the Clippers and the Suns have the same fatal thing, where they have two bigs at their center that aren't like super aggressive like you see with like some other bigs,
Cleveland.
but it's like if you have one rim protector and then your 1 to 4 is a lot of lower sized people, it ruins the team because I can't tell you how many times I watch a Clipper game or I watch a Suns game where their rim protector of either Zubac or DeAndre Ayton where they'll come up and contest a shot and they'll contest a shot, it'll be a miss, and then you have nobody
And
else
no,
to step
nobody's
in.
getting a board.
Yeah, same thing with the Sixers. Sixers the same
Yep.
way. If Joel Embiid steps up to contest a shot, you're relying on your point guard. I mean, your power forward, Tobias Harris, who's very undersized, to be able to box out the next guy in for a
Right.
rebound,
He's
and
the guy
it
who
doesn't
should be
work.
out on the wing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my thing is like teams like that really frustrate me. So Like if you get those guys like Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo, their RA lines against teams like the Clippers should be a great spot because of that. Because whenever someone steps out of the paint for a second, you never know what's going to happen after that. So that's a good spot, I would think. Bam Adebayo is a guy though where he's very frustrating to bet on. I think him and Nikola Jokic are two guys that are frustrating to bet on, not because of the same level of skill, but sometimes you get frustrated because you know what they can do and they'll do the opposite. Like sometimes Bam can have a game where he has like 8 assists, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing, man? Like this is the Hornets. Why aren't you just slamming
You
it
know,
down on it?" Yeah,
you know who the least fun team to bet on in the league is? It's the fucking Mavericks, dude. Like it's Luca's that whole ass team. Like unless you're taking Luca over points, rebounds, and assists, the Mavs games suck.
yeah. No, I agree. And people know me as the Twitter Luca hater, which I don't hate Luca. But my point is that the reason I didn't like Harden when he was on the Rockets, and the same thing with Luca, is it's a matter of sometimes, like I said, like I mentioned this with Giannis against the Bulls. The Bucks are a much better team than the Bulls, but without their stars against the Bulls in overtime, Giannis took 8 shots, made one of them, and they lost. So it's like one of those things where it's like if you have one guy, it's just not enough in this league. Like it's not enough in this league to be able to have success. So
Which is
Luka's
why I
great.
love watching Jazz games. Jazz play great
Yeah.
team ball. Like every time I watch a Jazz game, I'm like, this is like watching the most high efficiency college offense I've ever seen. They are unselfish with the ball. They pass it around. They can work you in paint. They can hit mid range. They can hit threes. They do it all, and they have
Yeah.
very good team chemistry. I find the Jazz is a very fun team to watch. I also just love shitting on Bulls' old front office. So every time I see Lowry Markkinen having another career game, I'm just like, oh, yep, Bulls couldn't keep him. Every time I see Bobby Portis up there in Milwaukee, I'm like, oh, yep, Bulls couldn't keep him. Or Wendell Carter down in Orlando, I'm like, yep, Bulls couldn't fucking keep him.
So this show is all about Oaks hating on the Bulls, but the next
Old
spot I want
Bulls,
to
new Bulls, I'm all in on.
yeah, the next spot I want to cover. So we covered Jimmy Butler's a spot I think I like. James Harden is definitely one. Tyrese Halliburton, the under and points, over and assists is another one. Another spot, it's pretty popular. It's already moved up a whole PRA line. It's 39.5. But LaMelo Ball against the Lakers. Honestly, I think LaMelo Ball or even Mason Plumlee's RA against the Lakers. The Lakers is one of those teams that they play
I got
so
Mason Plumlee on
fast.
my fantasy team. I'm so pumped.
I mean, the Lakers are a team that they play so fast and free that stats can just fly through. And the Hornets are a team that play so fast and free that
Yep.
stats can just flow through. So like that's one of those games where if you find a really inflated line for an under, power to you. But sometimes I have trouble as a guy that likes to bet a lot of NBA unders to find unders in these types of games because
Yeah, when the
legitimately
game over under is like
260,
236.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
it's like it's really tough. So I get the power to you. Like the Kings from the Kings play basketball. So in the chat, yeah, Ginger Snap, yep. The Kings are another team. They some teams sacrifice defense and they just try to put 130 points up and hope it's enough. And it's a strategy. I mean,
If you
some teams,
have the scores to do it, yeah. And if
yeah,
you got the athletes to do it, there's nothing wrong with
yeah.
running a track meet.
So I think teams like we said, the Raptors, the Cavs, the Heat have been a little bit less this year, but some teams are like they trust their talent to outlast teams. Some teams know they might be outmatched, and their solution is just to play as
Push
fast as
pace.
hell and then
Yep.
push pace and get open scores. So I mean,
Yeah.
if it works for you, it works for you. But so LaMelo Ball is one where he's actually since coming back from injury. I think I've bet him twice. And I won both times, but he's just fun. Like I've never known if I
Fun to
liked
watch,
or
that's
hate.
for sure.
Yeah, I've never knew if I liked or hated him because just like the attitude part of things, but he's a good player, and he's one of those guys where are the Hornets ever going to be contenders with him? No, but can he throw up a 28-point triple double against the Lakers? Probably. Like like he can definitely play ball, which is crazy. I mean, power to that family. They have some serious basketball player and serious talent through that
Yeah, I'm
whole
still sitting here waiting for Zoe to come back. So
Yeah, the Bulls miss him. I
Yeah.
think it's funny that
Oh
he's one of those
yeah,
guys
we
that
miss
people don't
having
realize
a
he
real
missed.
starting point guard and not a guy
Yeah,
that's second year out of Champaign. And like, don't get me wrong, I love Caruso, but he's basically
the
just
Caruso
an assistant
show,
coach.
the
Yeah,
Caruso
he's
show,
just an
man.
assistant coach at this point. Like, he's doing a great job helping Aiton. And like, I like Dragic, but I liked Dragic a lot more 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think sometimes. So I like basketball. I like to bet on basketball, but like at the core level, I like basketball almost romantically more than any sport, and that means like I like the nuances of basketball. And sometimes
Yeah,
you
I mean,
like,
I love a guy like Dragic who shoots lefty.
yeah,
Like, you don't see a lot of guys that are super strong with their left hand and can shoot threes, finish at the rim with both hands like that. You know, yeah. So I watch a ton of college ball. Like that's
yeah,
my number two sport behind
yeah,
soccer. Is I'm always with Zach. Like I watched fucking UConn play Xavier the other day. Like I like the Big East a lot. I like
yeah, yeah,
Big 12. Like I watch all that stuff. Dude, I watch MAC games when they're on at like 5 o'clock. I'm like, dude, we got an early MAC game. I love this
yeah.
shit.
The Maction, yeah. So the last two spots I want to mention is Jakob Pertl. PRA is set at 25.5. I like the under there. That's one of those games where if you just watch how the Suns got blown out, I find it unless the Nets are drunk. That's a game where I don't know if the Spurs can even keep pace or keep bucket for bucket with the Nets right now. The Nets are playing such good basketball.
No, I like Portal's rebounds though, because
Yeah, the rebounds, but
Brooklyn
the
doesn't try
overall,
very hard on the glass. Like
yeah,
if
I'll
KD's not
say
on his I'm cleaning up rebound shit, then nobody on
yeah.
that team really tries on the
I'll say
glass.
there's a good pivot might be points because the Nets, for some reason, the Nets and the Raptors are so good at paint defense despite not having any size. Like they
Yeah,
just play good like coverages down there. So if you like the points there. Secondly, Trey Young's PA is set at 35, 37.5. He's
that's
scoring
way too
again.
high. He's ice
And like
cold, isn't he?
but like he's ever since I made publicly shamed him, he's been scoring like a madman. It's crazy.
Okay.
He's he's been ice cold all year until I publicly made a tweet and then it blew up and I had like
Because
40
you
million like
changed the trajectory of his season. All right,
so
credit to Brian.
legit
He fixed Trey Young.
I legit posted Trey Young's under 2.5 threes. Props Podcast shared it and everyone retweeted it and it kind of went viral. Ever since that, I think he's had 3 or more threes in every single game since that tweet. Like, and that's not saying like I have a reach, but like you can't tell me sometimes that these guys don't see that shit and they're like, oh
Oh,
really?
for sure.
I can't hit threes. Watch this. Like, yeah. So he's been going off. But and then the last one I was gonna mention before we go to NFL because NFL games gonna be wild. We talked about teams that play at fast pace and they don't care about anything else but that pace. Today the Warriors have a matchup against the Hawks.
Yeah.
And Kevin Looney, 9.5 rebounds. I think that's an over easily almost because the over-under set at 237. And I mean, the Clint Capella still,
I was
touch
gonna
and
say
go.
is if
Played
Capella's still hurt, like nobody, there's not a lot of
like
rebounding talent there.
yeah, and like the thing with Kevin Looney is that you're at the mercy of how much he's gonna play, but this is a matchup where he's probably just gonna eat minutes, and I
Yeah,
could see him having a monster game. So that's like the points I have listed out here. But Tone and Ginger Snap in the chat are talking a lot about the Bengals, so I think it's only natural we switch over to NFL.
yeah.
For if this is a bad game, I'll be very upset. This is supposed to
This is
be
supposed to be like the game of the week.
it's supposed to be the game of the year. Like this is like supposed to be like the game to save primetime games. And then
I
everyone on
don't think
Twitter's
this is
now
gonna beat out the Chiefs Bills game we saw. That was a fucking banger.
that was yeah, but I'm talking about like this is supposed to be some I mean, it should be. It should
Yeah,
be. So before we get into the different angles, I'll just come out right with the ticket I have, which if Tone Stamp does not agree with this as a Bengals fan, but I think this is a Stephon Diggs game, and I took his over 71.5 receiving yards. If you follow the Bills or Stephon Diggs, he is under this in 3 straight, and that's so ridiculous for a guy like Stephon Diggs who has so much talent that it's not just a matter of like the quote unquote he's due, but he's over this in 10 of his 15 games, which means he was over this in 10 of his 12 games before this 3-game stretch. And if you watch Stephon Diggs play, he's such a good route runner. He's
Oh
so
yeah.
he's so good off the ball. And the Bengals run over 30% of their looks as man coverage. So even if they try to run like a cover two, I just think there's gonna be so much of a cushion in this man-to-man defense where I just don't see a world where Stephon Diggs doesn't find some success in this game.
It sucks that Singletary's so bad because the way to attack the Bengals I've noticed is with tight ends and running backs out in the flats.
Yeah,
Dump offs to Knox are huge in play here. It sucks that
yeah.
like Singletary, it's so hard to get a read on what the fuck he's gonna do that day.
Yeah, or with like James Cook, there's too much going on in that backfield where
That
it's very
backfield is a
annoying.
fucking mess. Josh Allen's the leading rusher on that team. Like
Yeah.
that should tell you how fucked that backfield is.
So Tone Stamping the chance is gonna be hard to hold his tongue here, but I'll say this. In this reality, what if the Bengals are winning by so much they have to throw? So Stephon Diggs has to catch passes, right?
Yeah, what if you guys are up 21-0 and it's just the only choice is air it out?
Yeah, exactly. So Stephon Diggs, like you mentioned, the dump offs, to tight ends, and wide receivers. I mean, to running backs. That's also something I factored into my cap in terms of Stephon Diggs is not your textbook lineup
No,
on
he's
the
not
left
your
hash every time. Like he can line up in so many different places, and those kind of guys, I think it's just so hard to keep down for multiple weeks. And the fact he's been kind of quiet for 3 straight weeks, like I think he's too talented and he's too versatile to not find a little bit of seam in this game because if he lines up in that slot a lot to beat
I was
out
gonna
some of the
say the
coverages,
Bengals been
yeah.
getting crushed by slot receivers
And
recently.
he's totally okay with it. Like some guys I feel like don't line up in the slot because it's like I'm an outside receiver. Stephon Diggs is one of those guys that he can line up anywhere. And
Did you see him fucking on the side like when on the Christmas game when he was dude, he like was choking up telling Allen how thankful he was to have him as his fucking quarterback and to be out of Minnesota.
yeah.
Like Diggs doesn't give a shit. He's there for titles, dude. Like he knows how good he is. Like he's gonna do what it takes to get that team W's.
No, and here's the other thing. So it's funny because I don't look at this as one of those reasons for a play. But he's sitting at 1,325 yards. So he's like just at the peak of that 20 of like that 1,500 yard mark for in 2 games left. Not saying it's an incentive for him, but like he's one of those guys that he wants to be great. That if he wants to turn up and have a 15-yard season, like he's got to start tonight. And I just think he's gonna get even if it's little screen passes, if he can break something off. This is an over-under
Quarterbacks
of
and
50.
coaches know that too. Like they always
Yeah.
try and force feed their guys to hit their contract
Yeah.
incentives.
Yeah, like he's just one of those guys. Like I said, if he gets 8 targets and he ends up with like say 5 catches for like 38 yards, I'll be upset that I lost. But if he gets those targets and they're trying to get the ball to their best player, I just
Which
think
they
that's
always do.
yeah. And sometimes on these Monday night games you hope for it and you don't get it, but this has the like the capability of being a Jamar Chase versus Stephon Diggs game.
Oh,
Like
for
this
sure. I
has
could easily see both these guys going for 100 yards and 8 catches.
yeah. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. This has one of those games where it's like I can whatever you can do, I can do better. Like if there's ever a time for it, it's week 17. Like right now. Like it'd be
And we know
perfect. But
Joey B doesn't give a fuck about getting sacked. Like as long as
yeah,
he's
he
not in field goal range on 3rd down, he's gonna try and extend that play out, and he's gonna try and find Jamar Chase. Like
yeah. I think T. Higgins is another spot here where
Yep.
I think T. Higgins is like a sneaker spot. I think I saw calling our shot on Twitter on his over in yards. I think he said 6.5. That's another sneakily spot where I think if you wanted to fade the whole idea of sell out to stop one guy, T. Higgins is that guy that can make those big plays.
He's
Just
great in the corner of the end zone too, on a nice little post route.
yeah, I mean, no, I'm a big fan of T. Higgins. T. Higgins won me a fantasy football championship in my big money league, so I can't hate on him. Last year I stacked Burrow, Higgins, Mixon. Like my name was the Cincinnati Bengals in my big money league, and Higgins and Burrow combined for like 80 points in the week before the championship matchup. So I have all love the Cincinnati Bengals. So I root for them, but this the AFC picture this year
I like Boyd
is
too. I mean,
yeah, Boyd's another guy.
like shout out the Bengals. normally I'm real suspect of Clemson wide receivers just because I got burned by White so bad when he got drafted to the Bears. But like, yeah, I mean,
He did nothing. He was supposed to be the steal of the draft because you guys got him a little bit later, and he was supposed to
yeah,
be
we got
like,
him in like the 11th round. He just never was
yeah.
healthy enough to play. He's a hell of a
Yeah.
talent.
Yeah. He was fun to watch at like in college, and then he just fell off. Like, and the stints he was healthy, he made a few good plays, but that was about it.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you miss fucking 12 to 13 games a season. Like you don't find it.
Yeah. So looking at this game, it's funny because I usually like to attack Josh Allen in terms of being a guy that likes to take off and run in these big games. But his over-under opened at 47.5 for rush yards. On FanDuel, it's 49.5. And that is like a hard number to back. That is a really hard number to back. If it was like 42 again, like it's been for a while, I would definitely look at it. But that's like you're asking for 50 yards, which is tough. So that's an angle I liked until I saw what the line opened at, and I kind of immediately said, "There's no shot."
Yeah.
So, Brian, do you want my opinion on the various bets that you've mentioned?
Sure, I've only mentioned like two of them.
Well, I mean, you've mentioned a couple angles. You can mention a couple players. I can, chime in.
If you don't know this, but Tone Snap is a very angry little short stumpy man.
Oh,
that
shut
yells
up.
The Bengals.
So that's not very hooday of you, Brian.
Yeah, it's not very hooday of you, man. But I think the reason I'm a little weary on Diggs, since you've brought up my weariness on it, is I think the Bengals are going to limit 1v1 matchups with Diggs because that favors Josh Allen, who can just attack that. Our corners are Eli Apple and Cam Taylor-Britt. It's not, you don't have a superstar shutdown corner that's going to be able to stop Stephon Diggs. So I think what's going to happen is...
Can I add on to that? Because I almost looked at the receptions for Diggs. His receptions are 5.5, but it was like juiced like minus 140. If it was a better number, I would look there because even if they bracket him, I do think they're going to even if he finds an intermediate spot where like it might be like an 8-yard catch, I think he's going to get the targets. But that minus 140 for 5.5 was like ridiculous.
It's almost like when you bet on Godwin. It's like, yo, I'm not sure he's gonna hit his yards, but
he's gonna get 92 catches.
So yeah. I think Diggs definitely gets the targets, but what concerns me is I think how they're gonna attack Allen and the offense is because we don't really know what the run game is for Buffalo aside from Josh Allen. I think the Bengals will be okay with dropping 8 into coverage and having a spy on Josh Allen and kind of daring him to run. I think the way they're going to attack Allen is to make him have long, methodical drives as the only way to succeed and wait for him to get impatient. And once he gets impatient, that's when he starts throwing his picks. That's when he starts running and potentially, everyone's been talking about his fumbles lately. So it's going to have him try to make mistakes. And so because they're dropping all those 8 in coverage, I don't think Stephon Diggs is going to be able to find the gaps he might need to get 71 yards. Of course, he's also Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen might just throw it up and it might get complete in that fashion.
So here's my other thing too, is that I was actually watching some of the Bengals' recent games where they allowed guys like Jacoby Myers to have a good game, who's actually ass. But in my thing there too is that the Bengals are totally okay with sacrificing pass rush. Oh yeah, I see your picture. Yeah, but they're totally okay sacrificing pass rush for that coverage, and that's another thing I thought about too. Where, I mean,
also
Stephon Diggs one of those.
The Jacoby Myers thing was a fluke Hail Mary that was tipped to him, so it wasn't necessarily. Let's chill out on that.
Trust me, I watched that game and I had Mac Jones under, and I hate the Bengals for the rest of my life. But no, because that play cashes basically was over. But my other thing too is that they're totally okay sacrificing that rush on the quarterback for coverage. And if anybody on this Bills team is smart enough to find a gap with a 4-second drop back, 5-second drop back with that lack of pass rush, it's gotta be stuff who else is smart enough on that team to find the soft zones? McKenzie, as much as people love him, or Gabe Davis, as much as people love him,
It's
like
not Gabe Davis. I was about to say,
yeah,
Gabe Davis is your deep threat. Like, he's gonna make one move, and if you don't hit him, he's kind of fucking useless out there.
Yeah, like their flyers. My guess is Pratt or somebody else will spy Allen, and Allen will have a decision to make. But if they have that lack of pass rush, and you give Stephon Diggs, say, 4 to 5 seconds to find a soft zone, I think I trust him over anybody else in that offense. He's just so talented. Where I think you got to factor that in. And like, I'm not even. This is not like a shot at the Bengals at all. It's more of a just like the way they run some of their coverages. I think they do have certain soft zones, and if Allen has long enough time to throw, Stephon Diggs is just like so talented to me. Like I actually used to hate Stephon Diggs on the Vikings, but watching him now as like the number one guy, he's very talented in his, the way he runs his routes and he finds those areas. So that's why I love him. He's actually, I just looked, his over under now is 56 as a 76.5 on DraftKings. So I feel a little bit better with that. But I was
CLV
debating
value Brian over here.
Yeah, CLV is garbage, but it makes you feel good before the game. CLV makes you feel good before the game, and then you crash and burn, and you're like, this is fucking stupid. Like, I don't, like, you know what I mean? It means so much to you before the match until afterwards, and you're like, it means shit. It's fucking dumb. Like, I don't even care. Like, it's so funny how your attitude changes on line movement until it actually matters, and you're like, it's
until the money is actually in play.
Yeah, like you could take an over under of like 70 and it can close at 79, and like, you know what, it feels good. You could take the same over under of 70.5 and it can close like 66.5, and you're like, it means nothing. Like, line movement, it's bullshit. Like, don't worry, don't worry about it. But yeah, I do think it's also less of a Stephon Diggs should eat, but it's also like out of all these playmakers, I think Stephon Diggs is the one that benefits the most in any kind of game script here to find those soft zones. So I do like Stephon Diggs a lot.
Break a tackle or two. Like,
yeah, if he
if he gets out of a tackle or two, like, he can get a 30-40 yard catch, no problem.
Especially if they run those trips right, looks where they just stack to one side and they just let someone go in the open space. He's just too talented. He's too talented to not get 70 yards in 4 straight games to end the season in a must-win game. I like that sounds like almost like a he's due situation, but sometimes you just got, like, as a guy that likes to bet unders a lot, sometimes you gotta find the star and say, yeah, this guy is not producing the last few weeks and his team needs it tonight. Like, he's gotta come up and make a play. Like, it's just one of those things. Like Devontae Adams yesterday went off in a meaningless game, and it was one of those games. He just like willed some of these catches. I don't even know how he made them. And Devontae,
with Jarrett bum-ass Stidham throwing to him.
Yeah, and I just, like I said, Stephon Diggs is one of those guys. He falls into that category of wide receivers where if he gets the plays, so did Mike Evans. Like, if he gets the plays, and the targets,
Mike Evans learned how to catch the ball yesterday. Like, do you know how many fucking atrocious drops I've seen on Mike Evans this season?
Yeah,
like shit that hits him in the hand and in the numbers.
No, yeah. So that's my thing too. Is like there's like 10 receivers I'd put in this league that if they have to make a play, you just have to make a play. And I think Stephon Diggs is that guy tonight. I think he's got to do something for this team.
I'll mention one more thing.
This is great. I knew you'd hate this when I sent this to you.
No, of course I know you put the bet just to trigger me. I get it. So yeah, but I on the Bengals side, I think this is more of a T. Higgins game. I think Jamar is going to be blanketed, and while I think he'll get his catches,
I mentioned that.
You did mention that, and I agree with you on that. I think T's the one that feasts here. As it's just so hard to stop all of them, and you can try to stop Jamar, but T is a number one receiver on like 90% of teams in the league. Yeah, I think he's just going to be too hard to stop here. And like you said, even if the pass rush does get to Joe Burrow, he just doesn't get phased. He doesn't. He's too good. So the last thought I had is Bengals by 3. 34 to 31.
All right.
Okay, I like that. So like I said, this is a game where I really hope like I actually might use a free bet here for like some kind of like same game parlay, which is just one of those games where I'd be really sad.
There's going to be offense and you think there's going to be points.
and like And then whenever there's not, like, it always happens. But this is one of those games where I think gambling Twitter and NFL fans everywhere will flip shit if this game sucks.
Oh yeah.
Like
People
this
will
game,
lose their shit if this is a fucking 17-16 fucking rock fight.
I mean, if the
Yeah.
Bengals win it, I'm not going to lose my shit. They'll clinch the AFC
So,
North, which is another
won't.
point. Just remember, the Bengals are also playing to clinch the AFC North tonight.
Yep.
I will say this, not to have a tinfoil hat, but the line is set at 2.5, and I have a theory in my head for college football and football in general. If it's a 2.5, I always lean the underdog before I even cap the game, because 2.5 is almost saying like, oh, it's a field goal. Of course the Bills win by a field goal. It's one of those things where, like, before I cap any game, if I see 2.5, I immediately lean the underdog. That's just how I feel.
I do the same in college basketball. Anything 3 or less. If you're giving me a full possession and I like the dog, especially if they're at home, that's something that then I dig into. All right, what's this team's like from the free throw line? Where are they good? What's their strength on weakness here? But yeah, I tend to agree with you. Anything under 3 points in NFL, that's a field goal. Under 3 or under in basketball, like, I'm big on full possessions. I'm big on a 3 at the end of the game isn't gonna fucking ruin this for me.
Yeah, which just happens a lot. So, Tony said, while you're on here with us, I actually have a question because I'm looking at these rushing yards.
Okay.
Joe Mixon is a 50.5. That feels weirdly low, but also, what the hell is that? Like, he's been struggling for most of the year in terms
Mixon
of yards.
gets 100 or under 50. Like, that's just kind of how he rolls.
But he got some momentum last week. Last week against the Patriots, he had a good game. He had, I think, 65 on like 15 carries, I think.
So
but that's a very interesting line.
So the rushing attack obviously has been better than it was way earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I will say the only thing that worries me is the Lael Collins injury. They don't have him on the right tackle anymore. That being said, his rush protection was not great. He was more of a pass protection guy. So I am not sure if it's Adeniji on the right side tonight or Isaiah Prince. But it might be Prince. Prince was the one that took him to the Super Bowl last year. I mean, took him. The line wasn't good, but he was on the Super Bowl team last year. So he I don't know if either of them help Mixon out, or if you might see more runs to the left side to try to just kind of avoid that.
Okay.
With 50 yards, I mean, if the passing game is going like we expect it to, I don't see how Mixon doesn't get 50 yards because
on the change of pace plays. Yeah,
the Bills are going to have to.
Mixon's also super good if you can get him in space. Like, if you can get Mixon on a wheel route, and get him in space where he can break a tackle, I say this all the time, Mixon got kind of boned coming out of college and going to the Bengals because they kind of expected him to be more of a workhorse back. And it's like, dude, if you watched him at Oklahoma, just get him the fucking ball in space. The guy makes magic happen.
He's a lot better in that offense when they have a good passing attack and they could do those delayed handoffs and just give him the space. He's not, because I'm like the truther of Joe Mixon in fantasy. I've had him like every year. And watching him play, he's just not the guy that's going to make plays happen, per se, like behind the line of scrimmage. Like, he's not going to break a tackle and he's so much better if you just get him in space. He's
not a 3 yards in a cloud of dust guy.
What he's fantastic at is, and unfortunately this isn't great for a rushing yards bet, but he's great at catching screens. He's great at the short, Joe's about to get sacked, get it, and then that's when he's in space, and that's when he takes off. So I don't know.
That's what he did well at Oklahoma too.
Do you know what Mixon's receiving number is?
It is 25.5. It's 23.5.
That's all it is?
23.5. Yeah.
I like that. I like
that a lot.
If you can get it
so I'm bringing up these rushing totals because in the chat too, the question is what do you think of Joe Burrows 12.5 rushing yards? I'm a big guy that likes to fade rushing totals for quarterbacks, but
I
This
think
is a
Burrow's
weird.
different.
I think this is another game where the pace might be so like there might be a lot of plays in this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if both teams have like 65, 70 plays run.
That's so many plays in the NFL too. Like that's one thing I always like. I watch the NFL and I really try, but like you'll hear me all the time talking about how the NFL is a garbage product. Like there's no way I should be watching a game for damn near 4 fucking hours.
Yeah, so Joe Burrow is averaging 16 and a half rushing yards per game, but he's under a 9 of the 6. So if you're like an EV better and you like the idea of hit rates and etc., he's only hit it in 40% the over. So you're getting a good line at 12 and a half, but he's not hit in 3 straight. But this is a weird game, man. Like this is a game where there might be a lot of plays or third down conversions that are needed, and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are both they're two quarterbacks that don't really give a shit about their bodies as much as they should. Because sometimes they take such Josh Allen's is worse, but sometimes if they see the first down marker, that's like they see red. They see red.
It's also a fucking game to secure a playoff spot and secure the division. Like I wouldn't blame Joey B at all for running out there.
So I should mention a lot of the times, because Joe Burrow at the line before a play is so cerebral, he can just decipher what the defense is giving him. A lot of the times he will see how the line is looking and the team might be in zone coverage. And he is in shotgun. All the plays are in shotgun. If they're under center, something's off. But he will see a gap and instantly split right through it. It's not quite a designed run, but it's something he finds at the line. And he can get, 8 yards off that by himself, like on one play. I feel, and the other thing is, I feel like this might be a game, again, with Collins being out for the rest of the season, I feel like this might be a game where Burrow has to be a little creative, and he might get rushed out of the pocket occasionally. And if that happens, I wouldn't be surprised if he has to run for a few yards, especially on like a third down play, when the rest of the team is dropped in zone trying to blanket those 3 receivers.
Yeah. And I will say, to add on to that, when I look at quarterback over under for rushing yards, I like to look at the man coverage looks for the opposite team. And the Bills are middle of the pack in zone coverage and man coverage rate. So they run man coverage about 28% of the time. And that's good if you're looking for under, because teams that play a lot of zone, it's just usually a lot harder for a quarterback to find a seam in a zone coverage than a man-to-man. Like man-to-man, like teams that play high rates man-to-man, I usually look at the opponent's quarterback over in rushing yards, because sometimes a man-to-man defense can just get lost in the fact that they're so glued to their man, and it's like, holy shit, who had that guy? And he just takes off. So that's one where I think it's a toss-up, but if I had to go based off of the coverage looks, I would lean the under, but you run the risk of just having too many plays run. Sometimes when there's so many plays run, it gets murkier.
Especially if they're putting together what looks to be a game-winning drive. Like 12 and a half yards could be one run for Joe Burrow, or even like, maybe he gets a quarterback sneak for 1 or 2 yards early, and then, they're down 4 trying to put a game-winning drive together, and Joe Burrow sees a lane and he's like, fuck it, if I can get field goal range, like then we're money. So I mean, it's definitely a good look. I don't know if I'll be putting any money on it, but it's I like the angle there.
I'm just so excited for this game tonight. This is going to be such a good game.
Yeah, so I think we covered a lot in that game. It's funny, I actually have to head out soon, because before this wonderful game starts, I'm going out to my mother's birthday dinner, and then I'm going to be able to watch this game. So I do this to be a fun game. I think the over-under is a 49.5, which is almost tempting to take the over. But sometimes in these primetime games, you just get so let down. And I really hope this is not the case here.
These are two good defenses.
I think
I should point out, these are 2 good defenses. I know we're so enamored with the offense. I know we're so enamored with the offenses, but you can't it's not, they're not playing the Chiefs.
Stephon Diggs is getting 148 yards, and you're going to like it.
Oh my God.
Stephon Diggs is going through. I'm going to ladder him.
If you want to see me mentally break down, then follow me on Twitter if that happens. GB_Told
Yeah, that's just going to lose his mind. But yeah, this is a good game, I think, to watch. To recap, I'm only on Halliburton's under and 19.5 points for NBA. I like his double-double or his 10.5, his 9.5 assists. And I'm on Stephon Diggs in this other game, his over 71.5. If you can only find, I'm seeing the best line right now is 74.5, 75.5. I still like that because this sounds bad or sounds irresponsible, but a 4-yard shift is a lot. But I do think it's a game where he just grabs it by the horns and makes some plays happen. So I do still like it at that number. I would not play it over like 78.5. I think 78.5 is where I would cut it off. He's averaging 88 yards a game. And I think this is a game where hopefully the Bengals are winning for Tone Stamp's sake, so he doesn't lose his mind on Twitter. But those are the two plays I like. And as I mentioned earlier in the stream, but remember, this is the day after New Year's. We saw the Suns show up to the court hungover. Maybe some other teams follow suit and just don't show up or don't perform. So maybe it's a good under game. But I do think this is a fun NFL game to focus on.
Yeah, that's all I got. I mean, I'll be covering EPL tomorrow afternoon. Italian Serie A is back on Wednesday, so I'll have a bunch of stuff that I think those start at like 5:30 fucking Eastern time because Italy is so many time zones removed from us. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
great sports week. I know you're not a big soccer guy, but I mean, fucking. We're in conference play for college basketball. So
yeah,
one thing I always look at that is Big Ten versus Big Ten matchups. Got to look at the under in those. Like I said, Midwesterners love defense.
They love defense and they like to eat a lot of weird foods. That's the two things, you know.
We just we throw like nothing's complete until it's got cheese on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's all cheese.
Philly's
it's
the
all...
same way though. Don't act like Philly out there eating healthy, my guy. With all
I will
fucking
say Philly's the worst because, like, I will say as much as like a good cheesesteak is good, the whole cheese whiz move makes no sense. Like, if you're gonna get cheese, get real cheese. That's my thing. The whole cheese whiz is just ridiculous.
Leg's a big Koopa Shop guy. He likes the
Yeah,
Koopa Shop.
exactly. No, but I do appreciate Oaks coming on the show. As y'all know, if you watch, Ryan never makes an appearance, but his name is on the show for some reason. Never understood that, but it's always nice to have someone come on here and just kind of shoot the shit with.
Ryan's on that NBA injury level, dude. Like, he's questionable up until game time, and like if he can't go
every single
I'm
day,
right there. I'm that 6 man off the bench.
Yeah, so we appreciate that. As always, we're sponsored by Props.cash and Picket Sports. If you are in the gambling world, they're both very helpful tools. I think I've used Props.cash since I first started betting in terms of just, it's so much easier to make your research go smoother. So we appreciate them as always.
Is super underrated, dude. Like, you give me bar graphs and shit like that, I'm all fucking over it because it makes it so much easier to read than like an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, Ryan Day-to-Day Props. That's his new nickname, actually. And someone's saying his kids are
like that. Yo, Ginger Snap, that's a good one.
Ryan Day-to-Day Props is. I'm actually gonna change the show name on the programming, so it says Ryan Day-to-Day Props and Brian Talk Sports. But as always, no, like, we appreciate everyone that was in the chat talking around. I appreciate Oaks, and I got a dinner to go to, so I'm gonna head out. Oaks, you wanna send us out like with your final thoughts?
Absolutely. I think we're gonna get a great game tonight here. Bengals, Bills. Go Bulls. They're gonna have a tough one on their hands. I don't know if that one's gonna be very high scoring. I like DeRozan assists there because they do key on him pretty well. Should be a big Zach LaVine game. But yeah, thanks for coming out. Love talking sports. Happy birthday to Mama Books, and we'll catch you all later this week.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Hooday.
Hooday.